Hi guys, this is Sandra of the Alexandrite system. A question that we get asked a lot is, how do I come out as a system? And to be honest, it's a question that's kind of lacking a lot of resources in our community. So I thought we could start a discussion here and talk about the different factors in coming out and talking about our own stories of coming out. So the first step in coming out, any sort of coming out, is it safe for me to be out? In a better world, I wouldn't have to include this step. But I don't know what situation you are in. I don't know what your risk factors are. I don't know the people that you're going to be telling. I don't know your system. I don't know you. And frankly, even if I was familiar with you, I still don't know everything about your situation. There are probably aspects of your situation that only you know. So before you continue this process in any way, I really want you to sit down and think about what your risk factors are. Is there a risk of you being forcibly institutionalized? Is there a risk of you becoming homeless? Is there a risk of violence being done against you? If there is a risk that you could be fired from your job, then I recommend that you don't come out, or at the very least, you don't come out in a space that you feel might be dangerous. Because here's the thing that I think a lot of people forget, you don't have to come out to everyone. So back in the day, I was watching an episode of The Office with my girlfriend at the time. It was the episode where Oscar comes out as gay. And in that episode, Jan says, like, coming out is like a big event for a gay person. And my girlfriend at the time, she said to me, well, it's not just like one event. You have to keep coming out. And I think about that a lot because it's true. Every single new person you meet is another choice about coming out. And so just remember that, like, coming out to your best friend doesn't mean you necessarily have to come out to your parents or your job. And I'll be honest, there are some places where I recommend that you never come out. I never, ever recommend that you come out at work. And the reason I say that isn't because of the risk that they won't accept you on like a personal level. It's the risk that you could be fired, or the risk that it can be used against you in some way at your job. Because unfortunately, ableism is a thing. And if you don't know this already, it's a very important thing that you hear. Your boss is not your friend. As someone who has been a manager at a job, I can say that I may be friendly with you as an employee, but I'm not your friend. I'm your manager. And the reason for that is I can't be your friend if I have power over you. And there are inherently things that we don't or cannot say to each other. Do not think that a boss or a manager will not hesitate to get rid of you. Unfortunately, capitalism means that we are all interchangeable cogs in the machine. And I don't say all this to scare you. I don't say any of this to scare you. I say this because I want you to know that you need to be safe. First and foremost, before anything else, please, please make sure that you are safe. Your safety and your well-being comes before anything else. So I have no good segue here, but let's talk about our coming out. We've come out as a system in a lot of different ways. It's a thing that we're sort of constantly refining. So the first thing I've learned about coming out as a system is you want to control the narrative. And what I mean by that is most people do not know the phrase dissociative identity disorder. Most people know the phrase multiple personality disorder. And more people have stigma against multiple personality disorder. So I really recommend that you watch the Ring Systems video on how to talk about DID without mentioning MPD. It has been an invaluable tool. I will link it in the description. And honestly, that's if you're choosing to come out about having DID. You might not want to pathologize it. You might want to say, I am many people in one body. Or you might want to start with, I'm multiple, or I'm plural. How you personally talk about your system is how you should start. The second tip ties into the first tip. Know your audience. If you know the person you're coming out to will not accept a non pathologized version of multiplicity, then you can explain it as a disorder that you're suffering from. Because here's the thing, even though not all traumagenic systems see this as some disorder that they are suffering from, sometimes that's the only way abled people can view it. And sometimes you have to work with that. Maybe at some point you can work them up to that, but I always recommend starting at a level that they can handle. I'd like to tell a story about knowing your audience, but not knowing your audience. Our wonderful friend Nicole, who you may remember from our video on being friends with the system that we have made private for the moment because of turmoil in the community. When I was deciding to come out to Nicole, I said to myself, Nicole is a person who appreciates humor. So what is a somewhat humorous way that I can introduce this topic? And so I decided to go with, guess which bitch has multiple personalities? And it didn't go well. I believe her reaction was, what? Which meant that now I had to backpedal. And you don't want to have to backpedal. Of course, once I backpedaled and explained it properly, she was great about it. But it could have gone badly. So I guess what I'm saying is maybe don't lead with humor unless you're like 100% sure that that is how a person will be receptive to it initially. Even then, maybe just kind of be serious about it. Love you, Nicole. You should also know what you want to get out of this conversation. When we were deciding to come out to our father, our therapist asked us, what do you want from this? And we didn't really have a good answer. And honestly, whatever answer you have, if you feel that's good enough, then go right ahead. But you should have an answer. My next tip is come with education tools. YouTube videos can be great for this because they're a pretty manageable thing to send someone. Instead of saying, read this book, you can say, watch this video or watch these couple of videos. Also, when you send resources, make sure you're familiar with exactly what they're saying. When we came out to our father, we decided to use the book Amongst Ourselves by Tracy Alderman because towards the end of it, there are sections for partners, for family members, and for therapists of people with DID. And so we sent him the for family members part, but we didn't read it beforehand, and we really should have, because there is a section that is like a worksheet for family members. And it starts off with, list all of the members in your family and their respective ages when the abuse occurred. Be sure to include yourself. It turns out this section was not geared towards telling parents, because it kind of assumes that parents were the abusers. It also assumes that there was an abuse that caused it and not some other sort of trauma. And when you put that out there, it can feel like an accusation. Regardless of how you may feel about the situation or the realities of the situation, it was not helpful to open with that. And the unfortunate thing was, it shut down the conversation for a bit. My next tip is, after you've come out to someone and they've said that they're willing to work with this and to acknowledge this as, a thing, but as time goes by, you find that they haven't changed how they treat you. They still treat you as one person. Force them to engage with it. And I mean this as non-confrontationally as possible. It can be as simple as signing messages with who they're actually from, or saying, hey, this is Sandra right now, this is Claudia right now, this is Susan right now. Or even phrasing it in a more singlet friendly way, I'm Sandra right now, can be helpful. Because the fact of the matter is, even if they've accepted it and they say that they want to engage with it, people generally aren't going to engage with something that makes them uncomfortable. My final tip is be open to the possibility of rejection. Again, I wish I didn't have to put this in, but unfortunately, there is a possibility that people will reject you because of this, and people might decide to leave your life because of this. And it's a sad thing and a disheartening thing. But in my experience, your real friends and the people worth having in your life will try. And I find in life, you only want the people around who are willing to accept you as you, not some fake person that they think you are. So take the time and think about it. I wish you the best of luck. I hope it works out really, really well for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you next time. Bye.